Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hello. What do I say next? This is why I don't do vlogs. I can't talk to cameras very well. Hello, everyone. So, out of popular request, I have decided to analyze every single RWBY episode that ever comes out. For now. Anyways, and when I mean popular demand, I mean, the Taha Archer said that he wants me to do it, or she. I don't actually know which one it is, but yeah. So I'm gonna do it then because out of popular request, right? Actually, this is like the second most viewed video on my channel, and honestly, I love RWBY, and I have a lot of thoughts that I want to get out of my head about it and share it with you guys and maybe have a discussion. So don't forget to share this with anyone who loves RWBY if you also like the content here. And let's jump right into it, shall we? So, just my overarching thoughts on this episode. Well, actually, first, here's how we'll do this. I am going to go through some of my favorite moments and through some of my not-so-favorite moments, then talk about story elements, then just kind of talk about the episode in general if there's still time. So, let's start with some of my favorite moments here. Let's take a look. Oh, honestly, that opening shot, I mean, what's there even to say? That opening sequence is just, it's almost jaw-droppingly beautiful, actually. Like, it's, I don't know, I think they've gotten a lot better at mastering the tech and just kind of improving the technology that allows them to create the show, because it looks freaking gorgeous, frankly. I mean, it looks absolutely beautiful with the atmosphere, with the lighting, with the framing. Everything looks just gorgeous. And another note in that first episode, which is kind of permeating throughout the rest of the episode, is that the facial animation has gotten infinitely better, actually. Like, I actually went back and watched a couple episodes from Volume 1 and 2 just to kind of do a quick side-by-side comparison, and there's really no comparison. I mean, it's wow. Like, especially the eyes. The eyes are where everything is improving a lot more, I've noticed. Like, just, the eyes seem much more animated. You're able to get a lot more emotion out of them and just kind of understand what the characters are kind of going through, especially RWBY. And honestly, Lindsay still remains the best voice actress within the main cast, easily, in my opinion. And her portrayal of RWBY in that moment is like just the right handle of, you know, just a twinge of a little bit of sadness, but also kind of happy, hopeful, go lucky that we know RWBY is. But yeah, so that's been kind of pretty cool. So yeah, some other of my favorite moments here. Let's go. Oh, I love how they're basically doing it like an old kung fu movie or like a fighting tournament movie where they're setting up the story of the entire season from the looks of it to just center around the fighting tournament, and they're going to be using that to generate action scenes while ostensibly the rest of the series will be focused more on character development and talking and setting up some sort of bigger climax that will happen at the end of the season. But hey, I can dig it. That's always been a great formula for fighting kung fu movies anyway, so cool. I like it. What else here? The fight scenes are very well paced. They actually did a lot of things that I was hoping that... That's a bad way of putting it. They didn't do a lot of the things that I was fearing, because when I first saw that clip a couple weeks ago of the opening, of that opening fight sequence that was released before the actual movie was... Movie? What am I talking about? I can't talk today. I'm sorry. But before the episode premiered, they released part of that fight scene so that we could see what was going on. And when I watched it, I liked it. I liked the conceptualization of it. I liked the moves. I liked the fighting. But the speed, something was just a little bit off about the speed for me. Monty has a very particular way in the way he ramps up speed, and he where he makes things faster for some of the hits and where he makes it slower for some of the hits as well. It's very peculiar, and even I don't fully understand it. All I can do is just say, like, when I see the way Monty does it, it's just like, oh, that's it. Perfect. You got it. You got it there. And they seem to have gotten a lot better because that opening scene didn't seem as polished. And to be fair, that was the whole point of it. It was a non-polished look at the fights and just kind of giving us a preview of what it was going to be. And it's nice to see that they added that level of polish before they finally released the episode. So I've got high hopes for the fighting this semester, even though Monty is unfortunately no longer with us. Oh, actually, that reminds me that that shot of the sun with the crows flying by and Monty's signature flying by. If you don't know what that was all about, that's basically how Monty signed a lot of his work in the past before RWBY. In particular, his short film, I think it was like Raven or something. It was where it was basically imitating a John Woo movie. I'll put a link in the description down below if I can find it. But yeah, it's basically how he signed a lot of his early works. It's just kind of a basic artistic signature that it was him, as if you were signing a painting or something. But yeah, that it almost destroyed me on the spot. If they hadn't immediately just gone into like that action-packed scene, I probably would have started crying on. Yeah, wimp, right? Just crying in a signature. I don't know. It's deeply affecting. I don't know. I wasn't recording anything at the time. I don't think I've ever put it down anywhere on Facebook or whatever. But Monty's death really did hit me in a lot of respects. Just as a creator, as a fan of his work, as just a human being, his story was just so incredible that it kind of really hit me. And it's nice to see that. I think he would be proud of what they've accomplished with the animation and what they've accomplished by putting in the work. Yeah. There's really not much more to say about that. Another awesome part. The Avatar reference. Love it. Love the earthbending Avatar reference with but the other girl they were fighting. It was an awesome little moment there. Little homages to anime. Okay, fine, whatever. Avatar's not an anime. That's clearly a video for another time. How can they be happy how can they be so happy all the time from Emerald is probably the best line of the episode. Probably one of the best lines in the series so far, because it's awesome. Let's see. Grandpa Shopkeeper, they're really pulling the whole Cabbage's Avatar reference there to the full hilt. Although it is a little bit different, but I like how they're kind of keeping it together. Mostly because it gives them I think I like this from a story level perspective, because it gives a way to tie in every part of the series throughout it, because I'm assuming that it's going to be a running gag throughout the entire series. It is a way to tie that all together, and B, to give a familiar face to unfamiliar events. Like every time they have to go to a shop or go to a restaurant of some kind, they're probably going to use this one guy, and it's a nice way to tie the whole series together and make it feel more condensed, rather than having to put in a randomly generated character every time they go to a coffee shop, So I like that point. Let's see here. The writing is actually improving as well. It's still not. RWBY still is suffering a lot from the actual dialogue writing, I guess you could say. It's always been a little bit of the weaker standpoint, because it's Rooster Teeth, one of their main first attempts at getting like really. Okay, well, I shouldn't say that by Rooster Teeth. It's for the most part, the writing of RWBY has always appeared a little bit amateurish. It was one of the main complaints about the first volume and the second volume. But there is slowly improvement that goes on throughout it. Like overall, the entire writing standpoint has gotten stronger. It's still not probably like excellent quality yet, but it's still there. And overall, I think, especially along with the humor, and overall, I believe the visual gags are often going to be a lot funnier in the show than the dialogue gags, just because the dialogue isn't as strong. But the animation team at RWBY has always had a very strong, consistent idea of like how to do visual comedy very well. Either doing like kind of hard cuts like they do with Ruby jumping up in the air in this episode, to just small little moments like Blake having like freaking out over the fact that there's fish in her food bowl and stuff. So which is food bowl, cat, get it? Anyways, so yeah, that's always nice to see that they're doing that. And also overall, everyone seems to be getting stronger in their voice acting roles, and I think that this doesn't really have anything to do with RWBY in particular. I think it's just that's how most shows work. Red versus Blue was very much so the same way. X-Rated Vab kind of showed it between season 1 and 2. RWBY even showed it between volumes 1 and 2, and most TV shows in general. The characters and the actors who play them don't tend to be able to get into the minds of the characters, and that actually goes for the writers too. They don't tend to get into the minds of the characters as strong the first couple of seasons. That's why you often hear the term first season blues. But overall, the actors seem to be getting much, much more into it. In particular, Lindsay's always been good. Lindsay's always been good as RWBY. Yang has always played Yang like herself, or Barbara has always played Yang by herself. So that always kind of makes sense. But so in particular, Weiss, Kara as Weiss and Aaron as Blake seem to be getting a lot stronger to me, just in terms of just how they are presenting their characters and just how they're doing like small little voice affectations, especially because they're now more allowed to just be characters rather than kind of not necessarily plot devices, but they were more the central conflict. Blake and Weiss were the central conflict in the first volume, and since then they've been allowed to more develop as regular characters, and I think the voice actresses have gotten stronger in that regard as well. And of course, then there's the elephant in the well, it's not really the elephant in the room, but then there's the moment where you hear the voice that you don't recognize, and then you see Ren opening his mouth, and then you remember, oh yeah, it's not Monty anymore. It's Monty's brother is actually playing Ren now. And, obviously it's different. There's no way he could be exactly like it, but I think he's doing a good job. He's doing a serviceable job, and it's nice that they got a family member to help portray Ren as the series goes forward. So, those are the parts that I really liked. The parts that I didn't like so much, and I don't like... To be fair, I like the episode overall. I love it. It's a great start for the new season. I'm always hyped about RWBY. I was freaking out. I probably woke up at I woke up 2 hours, I think, before the thing started because I was so excited that it was going to come out that day, and then I just kind of waited until it came out. Like, I did homework and stuff, but I was constantly hitting the refresh button, and then I got stonewalled when the site went down, which was awesome. And finally I ended up watching it on the Rooster Teeth app because that did not crash as much. But some parts that I did not like so much were... let's look at here. So, okay, I want to get back to the fights really quick because while the fight overall at the beginning worked, and it worked really well, and it definitely, again, like I said, it's something Monty would be proud of. I saw some hints of where things could be going wrong. Take this with a grain of salt, if you will. But I saw just some parts that, and it's not just the fact that Monty wouldn't do it, so I might be biased in the fact. I might be biased in the fact that I'm looking too far into it to try and analyze what Monty would or wouldn't do to make the fight better. But to me, they're going along the lines of more traditional methods that I saw hinted at in Volume 2 that I personally don't believe work to the animation style here. Monty's work has always, you don't even have to be an expert on his work, you just have to see one of his fight scenes to realize that Monty has always worked on longer takes, wider shots, and visceral action choreography. The choreography's still there, the wide shots are there for the most part, but they're not holding on the shots as long as they used to. And that could be a problem. It wasn't a problem in this fight, to be fair. The fight was pretty fun overall. Even if the geography was a little bit weird where you couldn't really tell where everyone was and what they were doing at the same time. But overall, the fight was very well put together. I just feel that, there were a few too many close-up shots, which RWBY has never been able to do very well, in my opinion, because they either break up the flow of the fight or they stop us from understanding. It takes a second to realize what's going on because we're not used to a shot that up close. Some of them are working, to be fair. Some of the close-ups, like this one with, I'm pointing here because I'm going to put the image up here. One of them with RWBY hitting the trigger for her scythe. That works. That was always there from the beginning. Moments like that are awesome. Also, moments like this, where Yang is basically coming at them with, giant fists. That was awesome. It was an awesome action moment. It was an awesome comedic moment. But I'm talking about the points where they don't work are moments like this, where they decide to have a kind of a quick close up on what's it called? I can't even remember what I'm talking about. I was gonna put something here, but there are some. I'll put up something right here when I remember it. But this shot doesn't work for me personally because it breaks up the flow of what the fighting is of what's going on in the action scene. And remember what I said about pacing and how Monty scenes are always about pacing? Well, the pacing is really good when they're actually doing that, but a lot of these close-ups seem to cut that out in particular, and even make it so that it's just confusing to see what's going on. And I know by modern action standards, and by live action standards in particular here in the West, it's still infinitely better than what you can do there because it's animation. You can do anything what you want. You can do anything that you want. But compared to what has come before, I'm saying that this is something to at least keep an eye on because I think you can get a little bit lost within it, personally. That's just me. That being said, again, the finishing move where they all team up together was pure joy, working off of one of the best moves from Volume 2, which is the Bumblebee swing around momentum shot, which is fantastic. Yeah, Yeah. Oh, one more thing on it's kind of tied to dialogue, and it's kind of tied to fighting, where how to put this? They're almost at some points they're trying to put in Avengers style. You know what? No. Forget that. Forget that. It's not important. Not important. It wasn't that. It wasn't that bad overall. I can only think of like one time it did it, so it's not even really worth mentioning. So overall, I mean, overall, I like it. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's still more RWBY. I'm still gonna watch every episode pretty much as soon as they come out. I'm gonna be watching it religiously. So, yeah. So moving on to story elements, there were a couple cool story points I'd like to point out here. One, we get to see. Oh, wait, actually, that one reminds me of the other problem I had with it. I'm still not sure how I feel about the 2D animation parts to it. They were always kind of a weird background thing, especially in Volume 1 with the news reporter and the Cloud Effect fight scene. They always seemed kind of cute, but it was like always like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't really know what to think of it. But RWBY, here's where I'm getting mixed up with it. When you're combining 2D and 3D elements together, that's where it's getting messed up for me. The shots that were existent in the first volume worked okay. Like, the TV screen worked okay with the news reporter because that entire shot was animated in 2D, at least what I remember it. What they're doing now, though, is they're trying to combine 2D elements with 3D elements, either in the foreground or the background. In particular, RWBY's dad at the end of of the first sequence, and the spectators for the Vital Festival tournament that are listening into the broadcast. And I'm just not sure if it's working. Like, it just seems a little bit too weird, and every time they cut back to a 3D animated shot, it always just kind of... it looks off to me. And I know why they're doing it. They're doing it to save cost, because drawing out a single frame of people sitting around is much cheaper than rendering out an entire scene where people have to be theoretically moving and kind of breathing, doing at least minor motions and stuff. I get it. If they can't do it any other way, if they have to do it to save money, I understand it. I'm mostly behind it because I understand production costs are hard. I'm just saying I'm not sure if it totally works yet. I could be wrong. They may show it later in the season and it totally works fine, and I'll be eating my own words right now, and I will admit it. I will admit eating my own words. But for now, it's still just a little bit bothersome to me. But moving on to story elements, we finally got to see RWBY's dad. I called it! Though that one was pretty self-explanatory from the opening part of it. Neo is still with them, so after Torchwick apparently got arrested, she's still kicking around with Cinder and her gang. Love the awesome gothic schoolgirl outfit. I'm sure that excited a few people. Yeah, I'm gonna move on from that point really quick. That was a funny cut, though, how she cut to that when she was talking about when Emerald was talking about her teammates. That's what I mean by Rooster Teeth does hard cuts like that very well for comedic effect. That work, I think, better than their dialogue writing. Again, I already mentioned the tournament progression. I think is a really good story framing device for the rest of the season, especially since they even pointed out in the show in the dialogue between Team Juniper and Team RWBY that they're going to be probably more doing standardized fight sequences rather than fighter death, brawls to the death with murderers and Grim. Though apparently, according to the opening, that will still happen. It's just going to probably happen for a more climactic event, I think. More ties between Crow and Ozpin at the beginning, where RWBY is talking about how the more she learns about Ozpin, the more she's reminding her about Crow. It's not confirmed yet, but I called that one too. That Crow is definitely connected to Ozpin in more respects than just that, he sent a message to him and stuff. But I'm talking about even when it comes down to the design level, where if you didn't see my video before, you can check it out on the opening. But, there's a shot of Crow's weapon, which is a giant sword, because obviously, why not? And in it are little gear workings, and Ozpin has always been associated with gears and stuff, to the point where, his office is literally, in a big clock tower with all these gears on the walls and stuff. So that's always been kind of that instantly to me kind of tied the two characters together, and it's nice to see an actual confirmation of that happening. And we finally saw Summer Rose, RWBY's mom, who we have not seen in person yet, but we saw the gravestone finally from the first volume, which is interesting choice. Rooster Teeth has always kind of worked on a weird logic right there, where they'll expect you to remember things from trailers and stuff from years back or openings from years back instead of when they're actually relevant to the story. But whatever. It'll be nice to see how it keeps going from there. So I guess I really don't need to say what I thought about the episode because I just told you I liked it. I overall enjoyed it a lot. I love the action. I love the. I think the writing got a lot better, though it's not perfect yet. I think the visual comedy still works. I think there are some things to look out for, like in particular everything just not being perfect yet, and they're just having. They still have the standard problems RWBY always had, which is kind of weird animation when they're not in the fight scenes, like the sliding feet effect, and you know RWBY taking off her hood still look a little bit awkward and stuff. The 2D animation is still a little bit weird for me, but I'm open to just waiting to see how that turns out. And again, I hate to keep coming back to it. We gotta just see like how the rest of the series progresses, and ultimately, if it works, it works. The changes to the fight scenes that I can see there are not encouraging to me. If they keep doing what they did, if they just keep on this level of animation that I saw in this episode, that's fine. But if they start doing more of the elements that I'm talking about, it's a little bit concerning for me personally. But anyways, yeah, that's it. Enjoy volume 3, episode 1. I guess I will see you guys next week. Bye. I really gotta get better with sign off things, you know, not being so awkward. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe down in the description down below. Don't forget to share us with all of your friends who also love RWBY if you like this. If you don't like this, then don't be rude. Don't hit a dislike. Just move on with your life. You got better things to do, you know? Anyways, yeah. Don't forget to check out our other videos if you want to. If you want to see my analysis of the opening for Volume 3, click at this one here, I think. I'm judging this. And if you want to see one of our short films that we put together, check out this one right here. This one is called Singing in the Pain. It's basically, it's a short film we made in a 48-hour film competition based on depression, and is actually our tribute to Robin Williams. Yeah, it's our tribute to Robin Williams when he committed suicide a little while back. It was right around the time where we made this thing, so has a lot of deep emotional connection to us. I think you might enjoy it. So it's one of the most viewed videos on this channel, which again, I keep coming back to it, but that's not saying much. So, oh, also remember to check out our other linkies here, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Don't forget to like us. If you want to see our weekly Vine, we put out a weekly Vine, which is just kind of like, you know, this little comedy bit that we kind of put together really quick. If you don't know what it is, just click on it. Go there. All our linkies are in the description down below. Yeah. I really hope I get better at these sign-offs. Like, I know I said it before this, but I hope I get better.